Welcome to part 2 of building mini dioramas. Today, we're each building miniature castles, and each build has to be built on an 8x8 platform. So let's get started with the first build.
For my castle, I started up by building 2 walls. Then I built up this archway, then gave it 2 banners. Then I topped off the wall with dark gray crenellations. Then I gave it 2 flags, giving it these telescope pieces. For the courtyard, I gave it a cobblestone look by giving it these light gray 1x1 tiles. Then I gave it a stable with some hay, then placed down a micro scale tree. For the final touch, I gave it a micro catapult, using a lot of small random pieces. Now that the castle's finished, let's move on to Lincoln's build.
My build will be built on a rocky structure. So I start off by using snot bricks and then tiled off the edges using these slopes and tiles to make a nice foundation. And then on one side of it, I built up these little stairs using 1x2 brackets. I placed a statue and a few trees around the area. Then moving on to this empty area, I placed this bridge using this really cool technique. Now it's time to move on to the castle. I built up the arch and gave it 2 towers, and then moving on to the inside, I placed a few houses and then gave it this golden statue overlooking the entrance. And now this build is complete, so let's move on to Tyler.
For my build, I wanted to make an island with some water next to it. I did this by using 3 different colors of plates and then tiled it off using see-through blue tiles. Now for the land, I used these olive green wing pieces to give it a more organic look. Moving on to the castle, I used this cool technique where I stacked up a whole bunch of 1x2 rounded plates. Then I placed a couple of towers along the walls with tan roofs. Now that we're inside of the castle, I placed down 4 miniature houses and a little fountain. And finally, to finish it off, I gave it a little path and 3 trees on the outside. And now it's finally complete.
These are all really cool mini castle dioramas, but comment down below which one you think is the best.